meeting, so we're not experts at this. If things don't work out, or we have disconnections and all that, just bear with us. So, all right, let's just, whoever else is on this, just introduce yourselves and we'll move on from there.
Oh, I'm Liz.
Tom Malinsky.
I'm here.
Malinsky.
Okay.
Tom Malinsky.
Okay.
Brenda Mottram.
Hi, Brenda.
Hey, Brenda,
Hi,
you're on.
Brenda.
Okay, anybody else? Going what?
Sean Frodyma.
Oh, Sean, you're a new guy. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? I don't know. Can you see me on this?
Yes.
I can see
I
you.
just got
Okay.
you now. Yep.
All right, just checking. I wasn't sure. I'm new to the Zoom thing too, so
Yeah.
wasn't sure
So
how well you
we're-
could hear me either.
We're probably one of the more computer challenged commissions, so you gotta just
Well, I'll
bear
fit
with
right
us
in
a little.
then.
Yeah, I much prefer the in-person, and gosh, I hope we get back to that soon. It's
I agree.
Yeah.
really tough to do some of this all the time. I can't imagine what it's like to have kids in school and having to do it all remote.
Mm-mm.
So anyway, sorry, my light keeps going in and out, so I'm sorry if it turns dark a bit. So, okay, let's get started so we don't waste time. So this is the November regular meeting of the Conservation Commission. First on the agenda is public delegations. That's a chance for members of the public to address the commission on items related to its charter. If there's anybody online who's a member of the public who would like to address the board, the time to do so is now. So going once. Going twice.
Hey, I'm on the phone.
Oh, hey, Connie, you made it. How are you?
Well, I couldn't do it on the computer. I tried, but I couldn't do it on the computer. So I'm doing it on the phone.
Okay. We'll
Yeah,
get
I
you there.
found
one
there's
of
an
these
extra
days.
button on the computer that you have to queue into. I
Yeah.
finally got it tonight.
Once you do it once, you can sort of figure it out. The first time it's confusing, but
Yeah.
we're making progress. So
Yeah.
we got more people than last time, one way or another. Okay. The no
Yeah,
public
I
dele-
had somebody show me, but I got home and it didn't work.
Well, I'm just
Yeah.
glad you got your email back because for a while that was in doubt. So,
Yeah.
okay. All right. Okay, let's go to next approval of minutes. We're going to put my minutes down here. We have beautiful minutes from Liz, and this is for, believe it or not, for August, which was
Mhm.
the last time we had them.
It
The
took
meeting.
until last month for me to do them.
Well, better late than never.
I got
Okay,
'em.
found them.
Yep.
Okay. Are there any changes, additions, corrections, deletions, etc., for the Tuesday, August 18th, 2020 minutes? Hearing none, is there? Whoop, is there?
Nope.
Sorry. Hearing none, is there a motion to approve as submitted? I will move.
I'll make a
there-
motion.
Okay, seconded by Mr. Malinsky. Any further discussion about approving the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor, I guess we'll have to do it orally. If we hear a nay, we'll find out who it is. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, no one's opposed. For records for the official minutes, we have to know if somebody is opposed. We can do it all unanimously, but if somebody is opposed, we just need to identify that person for the minutes. Okay, done with that administrative chore. That brings us to treasurer's report.
I believe we still have zilch.
I thought we got approved for 800. That was my impression.
Did we get? Okay.
Yeah, that was what they put in they cut us down a bit, but everybody got cut a bit to try to help out here. So
That's okay.
we had 1,000
I
before,
thought
but we're
for sure
down.
it'd be more than that. Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
so I think my last impression, because again, you couldn't defeat the budget. There was just one budget. So I think
Yeah.
we have the $800.
I'm surprised we got that. Okay.
They like us.
Well, if we have Pardon Gray, we'll have some money to do Pardon Gray.
Plus, I've known Chris a long time, so Chris will hopefully
Yeah.
Chris will hear this. So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions on treasurer's report? Anything we need to submit? I'm not aware of any outstanding bills. So
Not holding
far,
out
so good.
anything?
no, not yet. Or maybe I
Okay.
am, but I don't have it organized yet. So I got to check.
All right.
I know they don't like that when I do that, but
No, they
sometimes
don't.
it's hard to get it all done at once. So
Yeah.
Okay. Chairman's report. I have a few things I wanted to bring up. So let's see. What do I have here? Not in any particular order, but Not that one. That one's on the budget. That's on the thing. Oh, I did send a copy of the letter that I wrote, the memo for the review of Indian Rock Farm. I know a lot of you saw that and commented back on it. This was back in August. Pretty routine. This was just that minor change to the environmental review statement that we went over via Zoom last time. And so that just lets you know that's the letter that went out to planning, and I guess that's moving forward as far as I know.
Okay.
Let's see. There are changes, some changes coming up to the freshwater wetland regulations. The state, as we all know, is in charge of that. We don't issue permits, but we can comment on permits if we get the information from them in enough time, which doesn't always happen, but when it does, we try to comment. The major changes that I saw is that they're starting to define buffers as larger areas. I think they're going from a 50-foot buffer on all inland wetlands to 100. That's one of the major changes. There may be some others. Buffers, for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, it's the area of land that borders a wetland or a pond or a stream. Not even, it doesn't have to be swamp or wetlands, it could be uplands. But it's the immediate border, and that's an area where they still need to review what the person's proposing, because things that are done there can have very negative impacts on the wetland itself. So that statewide, that limit used to be 50 feet from the edge of a wetland, but I think they're increasing it now, or they're proposing to increase it to 100. If anyone's interested in the details for that, it's still a draft. It's available on the RI-DEM, Department of Environmental Management website. You can read all the other things there. There's a couple of definitions that have changed and things of that sort, but I think in the most cases, this jurisdiction and stuff for the buffers and setbacks is the biggest thing I saw. Let's see, what else did I have? Not that one.
What's the title of that, Tom?
The title
Tom,
of
what
it?
was the title? Yes.
It's called Draft Summary of Draft Revisions. 2 drafts in a row. Liz, you probably don't like that, but to state freshwater wetland regulations dated September 2020. It's a
Okay.
PDF file that you can download from DEM's website.
Oh, okay.
I think it's
Thank you.
still open for comments. I'm not absolutely positive on that, but
Mhm.
let's see what else. Just checking to see what else I have. That one we're going to talk about. That one right there. Do I put that one on, or do I have to go over that? Let's see. Oh no, that's on there. Okay, that's on there. That's on there. That's all on there. Okay, I guess everything else is on there. So I don't have anything else that I see here that I need to bring up. So that's it for Chairman's report. Are there any other brief announcements now on item 5 from members of the commission itself? Anything they would like to bring up? Again, if it's something we have to vote on, we have to add it to an agenda the next meeting. But if we don't vote on it, we can still talk about it briefly if necessary.
Refresh my memory. Did you send, I think you did, and I thought I read it, but I'm just forgetting, that Souza Road development that we were looking at, how they were going to cut through wetlands, put bridges over. Did you say that the state terminated their ability to build there or not? I was confused.
Yeah, that's coming up under old business, but basically the state denied them a wetlands permit for that.
Okay.
And I sent the denial letter out. We could talk. It's coming up. We could talk about it now, but
no, I just remember it was reading. I believe I read it, but I forgot the specifics, and I just wanted to tying it to this wetlands changes. I was just curious if there's any correlation to them.
Yeah, I think because they filed under the existing regs, they wouldn't be under the new ones unless they get completely utterly kicked out. I think there's a time frame for appeals, and when I checked the website, they did in fact appeal the denial. They appealed it on the 4th of November. There's some period of time that DEM has to adjudicate that. I'm not exactly sure what it is. So right now, as it stands, they basically are out of luck because they need a wetlands permit to do much of what they wanted to do there. for this, Sean, I don't know if you know where that area is, but that's
I
kind of,
do.
you know where that's the left-hand side of Souza Road
Uh-huh.
as you drive up it heading towards Fish. Almost
Right.
that entire side except for the very bottom where they dumped all that dirt. There's going to be
Yep.
a massive development there with a lot of construction and buildings and houses and such.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the area. I read all your meetings and but the
Okay.
items that you sent me, I did try to review them, just to get
Yeah, we
kinda
actually spent a
up to
lot of
par.
time to write up a
Yeah.
response to that because it seemed like
Yeah,
they were just
definitely.
cramming as many. I couldn't send the plans because they're
Yeah.
big. We saw them on a blueprint, but there was very little space left that wasn't disturbed. And the view is we're not opposed to development. They're allowed to develop their property, but they're not necessarily allowed to get the most lucrative use at the expense of everything. And they
Right,
were
yeah.
just
The only
building
thing I
big
couldn't
ones.
see was the drawings that you referred to in what you were saying, specifically what they're doing and the U-turns and the driveways and things like that. That's the only thing I couldn't see.
Yeah, it's in a big blueprint that we had for
Okay.
that. I think that was the very last meeting that we did before
Yeah, it was.
everything got shut down. So that was our last in-person
Yeah.
meeting. And so we were able to see that. And the other part of it that's interesting too is that lower bit of land, that part where they dumped the dirt was for sale. I think it still is for sale. So they
Oh,
were
I thought it had
proposing-
sold.
maybe it did, but the sign is still there. And I think that part of the issue was they were crossing wetlands here, there, everywhere to get to parts of it. And if they bought that land, they could access some of those areas without some of the impacts and without the crossings. So that was suggested as well. I don't
Yeah, 'cause
know.
I thought it was a different firm that bought it. This is the scuttlebutt that's on Tiverton Happenings.
That whole area may be in flux. Someone may have bought it thinking, hey, they're going to need it eventually, and maybe they can make some money off it too. Who knows? But,
Yeah.
it would basically develop that entire side of that road.
Yeah.
It would be in back of those few houses that are already on there too. So,
It would be a mess.
yeah. And it would have
And-
access on Fish and Souza.
Yeah. And plus
So-
disturbing the wetlands like that, it's going to set a precedence that everybody can do it.
Right. But they wouldn't be under this new stuff we just talked about unless they lose everything and have to start over.
Yeah.
They're kind of grandfathered in under the rules that were in effect when they applied. So if they win their appeal, they're under the old rules. But if they don't, they got to go back to the drawing board and they would be under the new rules if in fact the new rules are passed by then.
Okay.
So, okay. How are we doing so far with the phone? Everybody here is okay?
I can
Yeah,
hear
okay.
very well.
Okay, great. Good to hear it. Okay, let's go on to new business unless there's any other announcements. If not, I wanted to just discuss the meeting schedule. We don't have to put it in until January, but we typically meet on the third Tuesday evening of each month. And this is the time of year where we ask, is that still a good goal to achieve? Or do we want to try to change the date, the time, or something like that? I think for the near future, we're stuck with these virtual meetings. I don't know for how long, hopefully not a real long period of time, but if that time and date is still good, I'll put together a schedule, send it out, and in December we can approve it.
It works for
Anybody?
me.
Okay with me.
Yeah. It's fine with me.
I'm good
All
for
right.
Tuesday.
Okay, I'll take that as a go then to set the schedule up and we'll send it out for final approval for December. Okay, that brings us to welcome to our new member, Sean. You want to introduce yourself briefly to everybody?
Sure. Obviously, I'm Sean Frodyma, and I live in South Tiverton, 2480 Main Road, right behind Helger's Ice Cream.
Okay,
And I just recently retired from the police department in October. So I'm kind of looking to just
thanks for your service, by the way.
Yeah,
Yep,
thank you.
thank you.
You're welcome. And I was just looking for, another way I can get myself involved with town issues. I more or less grew up in Tiverton, not necessarily grew up in Tiverton, but I've obviously I've given my service to the town, and I love Tiverton, and my wife and I plan on living here for the rest of our lives, as far as we know. So I kind of want to be involved, and I like to know what's going on, and I'm very interested in the outdoors and conservation and open spaces and land and that things of that nature. So I thought this would be a great place to start,
Good.
and I'm ready to learn.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
Welcome.
And
Have you?
we basically function as an advisory board for the town. We
Mhm.
don't have any true power. We don't issue permits. We don't issue fines or
Right.
things of that sort. The state actually sends out the wetland permits, but they try to inform us of what's going on because they can't be everywhere and they've had cuts. So when they send it out, I try to forward it out and we write letters, as you've seen, or comments or things.
Mhm.
Also, we have 2 reservoirs in town, Nonquit Pond in the south where you live,
Nonquit
and then also
Stafford.
Stafford up north. And there are
Mhm.
special zoning overlay districts on them to try to protect the area from development that might hurt the water quality. And so we get environmental review statements. That's what that ERS stands for, if you might have seen it on the
Okay.
agenda. Those are forms people have to fill out if they're building within the drainage basin of those 2 ponds, so they might affect water quality. So we
Mhm.
get first crack at that according to the zoning rules. The actual approval of it is in planning, the planning board, but we usually see it first, and we usually have to either endorse it, or if we have comments or concerns, we write up a letter to planning so they're aware of them, and then they can hold the developer to change it or improve it. A lot of times the developer will come to our meetings and discuss it in person because they don't want any holdups or problems.
Right.
A little tougher to do remotely, although Bill Smith did do it in August for the one that we had in the packet that we sent out. But so those are the 2 major things that we do, but we have other responsibilities. We had an active anti-litter group. We have some other meetings towards the bottom, like landfill and trees.
Mhm.
And we do some things also for water quality in general, because that's a big part of our charter, to try to keep that in good shape. So we basically can do an awful lot of things related to the environment. We're sort of the voice of the environment for advising the council and the town on things of that sort.
Sounds
Speak for the
important.
trees. Speak for the trees, like the Lorax said, right?
Yeah,
That
why
sort of
not?
thing.
Somebody has to.
Right. So anyway, well, welcome aboard, and we're looking forward.
Thank
The
you.
first time you actually give us a full complement of members, which is good because it helps us get quorums and such. So we're looking forward to having a full team here. So thanks for volunteering.
Great.
Okay.
Definitely. No problem.
Status of RI-DEM plans to improve water quality. I had an email from Stu Hardy on the planning board about that, if I can find it here. Anyway, what he said was RI-DEM is going to have a meeting either late this month or early in December, a remote meeting, where they are, I can't find it. Oh, here it is. I think this is it. Right. This is concerning Nonquit Pond. As you may know, that's a water supply for the Newport water system, not for us. There's no one in Tiverton that gets water from it, but the water is pumped under Secundit River and helps fill in the ponds that are in Portsmouth and in Newport and all of
That
that.
Walter.
Yes,
Pardon?
it is.
Oh, all right. So
He was sleeping.
it's always been a concern to improve that. They've had some issues there. You might have noticed in the past few years that a lot of construction went on at their water plant that's across from Raytheon, and a lot of that's trying to improve the water quality that they have. They had to build some extra stuff, but they also want to work at it at the source. And so they're going to be working on trying to reduce phosphorus in that pond. And this virtual meeting at the end of this month or early next month is to talk about the plans for that and what they're going to do. Now, originally we wanted them to do some more, like looking at nitrogen, because that also leads to some of the algae and some of the problems that they have there. I'm not really sure, and neither is Stu, why they're only looking at phosphorus. It might be a money thing, but we want to find out at the meeting why they're not really addressing the nitrogen loading, as we pointed out, and as I think the EPA, the federal EPA, wanted them to do as well. So we need to kind of monitor that and see what's going on. We always try to do what we can to keep that pond in good shape, and this would be some sort of treatment again to try to beat down the algae that forms, that leads to some of the water quality problems there. I mean, some of it, as we know from Richard Guimond, is there's a lot of discharge of water into there from the storm drains too, and maybe some septic systems that aren't quite up to par, but every little bit to improve it helps. So I just wanted to bring that up, that's coming up. We don't have a time or a date yet. When we get one, I will forward that on in case anybody wants to dial in remotely, either listen to it or participate. But that's what that's about. Okay, then the other thing under new business is an application. It says alter wetlands on it, but this was one that came in from DEM. It really is it's a business that's trying to just expand a bit of a driving parking area and loading dock area. They're not really in wetlands, they're in the buffer to wetlands. So I didn't see it as a really big issue that we would need to comment on. If anybody's really interested in seeing this, if you live near it, you know the area. I don't really know that area very well, but if someone would like to see it in more detail, I can send them. I've pulled it off the DEM site. I think the comment period actually is over, but sometimes they'll take comments after the fact if it's useful, because they don't get around to issuing the permits right away. And like I said, they're not always able to see everything in person. So I just didn't see it as a big deal, but let me know if anybody really wants to see that, send me an email and I can forward what I've got here. I think I may have to scan it in because it's printed out. I don't have a PDF of it, but I can scan it in and send it if anybody's interested. Okay, if no questions, we'll move on to old business. We had a brief update on Bill's wood sales plan. As you may recall, that's a business I think that's up in, I don't know if it's in the industrial park, but it's up in that area.
Yeah, he
And-
bought land up there because he was expanding from his
Right.
Portsmouth.
Portsmouth place.
Correct.
Yeah.
The
Yeah, they
change-
started cleaning an area a while back,
Right.
and then I don't know what happened. They just stopped.
Right. I think remember, we had to review their ERS, their environmental review statement, and we were trying to make sure that what they were doing was going to be a pervious area for parking instead of paved. But it
Yeah.
subsequently came up, the town planner sent me an email saying that the zoning ordinance requires the parking to be paved in the industrial park. We didn't know that before. So she sent me this note to say there's a minor change in the ERS, which changed the pervious, which lets water through, to this impervious surface, which will be paving. We really can't change that because it's a requirement of zoning. We just didn't know about it, but she wanted to let us know. So if we go up there and say, wait a minute, we said it should be, gravel or something, and we see it paved, that's the reason that it changed. So that's what that first item is about, that had to change. We try to limit impervious areas in that area because that's within the watershed of Stafford Pond, and the more runoff you have, the more chance for pollution. So if we can get it to go right into the ground where it's generated, that's better off for the pond. But they're going to have to do paving there that we didn't anticipate, and that's what that item is covering. So any questions? If not, the second item under old business is the status of the Tiverton Heights. That's the big development on the north side of Souza Road. We kind of talked about that earlier. And again, the permit was denied by DEM. There is a pending appeal that was filed on the 4th. No action's been taken yet. We'll have to keep an eye on that, see what happens. I don't know what the timeline is for processing that downtown in Providence by the state, but I'm sure there's some timeline. And it either if they win that, I'm not sure what happens if they win it, because as we saw in the letter, there were a lot of concerns from DEM, and they may have to meet some of those in order to go forward, or I really don't know, but we'll have to see what goes on from there. But it's a very massive development. I don't know how many people in town are really aware of how big it is and how much traffic and such it's going to bring to that area. But anyway, it's on hold now pending resolution of this appeal of the denial. Oops, sorry, my camera slipped a bit. Pending denial of the wetlands permit, which they absolutely need for that development. Okay, Tiverton Wastewater District Septic Safe Week. This was, as you may recall, this was something we talked to Bill Gerlach about. I think in retrospect, it didn't work too well because of the pandemic and everything that was going on, but they had these things with that, those inflatable men that kind of go up with, they blow air into them and they're like a stick figure that moves around, and they're going to have one of those and hand out information and stuff. And I really don't think it worked out too well. I volunteered to sit in and do one of those, but they never showed up. So I'm not sure what really happened to that, but it kind of fizzled. But I think for next year, when we do Hard and Gray, this might be something that we can work with for them in our area at our table. We can have some kind of display for this, because the real idea here is to try to help people in the southern end of town that have septic systems. There are actually a lot of people in the north have them too. There's only a small area so far that's sewered. Want to make sure that they don't accidentally damage their system, ruin their system, or they're running a system that's in bad shape, because that hurts everybody's water quality. So any info we can give out to help people, you know, do their systems better is a great idea. So I'm still going to follow up next year when it comes closer to Pardon Gray to see if they want to go in with us and maybe have a display for this inside the tent at Pardon Gray. Just for information, Sean, we usually have a display at Country Day for Pardon Gray doing something to illustrate issues with the land and environment. Kids like it. We try to have some interactive things, and we had one that has the model where you can use water bottles and squirt the dirt and stuff down the hill and see it all end up in the pond, and you see things like that. And we had one where it shows you can use food coloring in the ground and you can see how pollution moves in the ground. It's like a glass case where the food coloring moves in these sand layers and you can see it going around. So things like that, just to kind of interest people and get them talking about it and get them thinking about these things. It's always easier to prevent pollution than it is to clean it up. So we would do some planning for that probably in the summer, because it's usually in September, and have a little table and a display there. So that's that one. Let's see. So the aquaculture, I'm still kind of monitoring that. As you know, I like to go clamming at times, and we do seem to get an awful lot of these applications for our waters to be used for commercial aquaculture, growing usually of oysters, although sometimes it can be another type of shellfish. And the real problem is that a lot of these applications seem to be located off public access areas, which is where, if you're like me and you like to go out and go clamming, that's where you would go. These people that are doing this commercially can put a little more money into their business and maybe rent access off some private property and then not take up the shallow areas right off some of these public access points, which is typically what we see. So I like to keep an eye on it. And I think the Harbor Commission does too, for the exact same reason, that there's so few public access ways. It's kind of a shame to tie them up with this activity, which they can do this in much deeper water. They don't have to be right on the shallow area on shore where you go out, wade, and do the clamming. So we're not against it again, but we're trying to not allow them just to take over all these shallow areas right near public access ways in town. I did find there's a new one that was put in October, this Bradley Boeninger and Travis Lundgren. I don't know exactly where it is. It just says Sakonnet River north of Sepauwett Point. And I'm not sure how big it is, but they're talking about cages, bottom cages, things of that sort. It just went in October. It hasn't really been acted on by CRMC. And then we still have the one that kind of really riled me up a bit, which is off Sepauwett again. That one is still active. They haven't had a decision yet. That's the one by John Bowen and Patrick Bowen. And it's had a lot
where everybody kayaks.
Right. It's had a lot of comments from a lot of people that they don't want. It's about a 2-acre site in the shallows just to the south of where Sepauwett Creek enters Sakonnet River. And that's an area, again, where you might go clamming, you might do other stuff. And, you know, there's just so few areas like that you can access that I'd rather see them move that further out into the deeper water and not take the shallows. But we'll see what happens. It's not our decision. It's Coastal Resources Management Commission, or CRMC, makes that decision. But there's also another pending one on Sakonnet River that went in June, and there was no action since June, and there's no decision yet on that. So there's at least 3 pending in the town now again. The one in Nonquit Pond that we talked about last time, that one appears to be dead. It was withdrawn by the applicant. So there hasn't been. So I think that one's dead for the moment, but we just got to keep an eye on this because we seem to keep getting them. And, you know, before we look, if we don't pay attention to this, we could lose a lot of our inshore shallow areas that people do various other things. For what is a
I don't see why they don't try something like that at Common Fence Point. That would be the ideal area.
I think, though, Connie, that area has, my recollection is there's a lot of sewer problems up there. That's in Portsmouth.
Oh, okay.
I think that's that area
I
where they're
was not
talking.
aware of that.
I think Portsmouth was talking about having to sewer that, or the state was threatening them that they had to build a sewer plant there because it's so densely populated and it's so low to the water that they were having a lot of issues with their septic in that area. And I think they're under an order from the state to build some kind of sewer system here. So you got to be careful where you do stuff like this, because you can't, theoretically, you can't have it in Sepauwett Creek, which is interesting, but you can have it almost right off the mouth of the creek where it enters the Sakana River. I guess dilution is enough there, but we just got to keep an eye on it. I mean, some people probably don't care. If you don't clam, it's not a big deal, but if you do any kind of water sports in the shallows of the river, you just want to watch that. And I'm going to keep an eye on it because I like to go clamming down there.
Yeah, the problem is how much public is going to be lost to private.
Right.
Do we get compensated for that? No.
I mean, they don't actually end up owning it because the state owns those waters.
Yeah, but it stops us from going there.
Right. They get a lease and then you're supposed to stay out of it because they don't own it, but it's their area. And they get really nervous if people around it thinking they're stealing the shellfish or sabotaging it. So you're supposed to give it a wide berth, which limits what you can do in the area. But anyway, we'll see what happens. And hopefully we don't lose a lot of areas to this, because I think they can do it in a number of other areas that wouldn't impact the public really at all. And they should really try that first. So, okay, that covers all the old business. Is there anything I've forgotten under new business or old business? It's been a while. Anybody want to bring anything else up? Okay, if not, then we're up to standing committee reports. Landfill, I don't think Richard's on, right?
No.
No.
I don't know if they've had a new meeting there. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on there, from trying to get our staging area, or whatever we're going to call that, set for when we can't use the landfill. Actually, I think the landfill goes pretty soon unless they got the extension. I don't know if they were trying to
get
get
the extension.
They did get a year extension. Okay,
I think Gina gave it. Yeah.
Because we would not have that area built yet for the transfer station that they were talking about for what replaces it. So they needed to do something. And so then there's also the whole idea of how that transfer station is going to be operated and run. I think from our perspective as citizens, they'll pick up our trash like normal. But if you miss trash day, you got to bring it there instead of the landfill will be shut. And the transfer station will have, I don't know, I guess big dumpsters or trucks or something that you put the trash in, you put the other stuff in, and then they have to haul it all to Johnston instead of take it locally.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a change for us to some degree, because I'm not sure how they're going to handle leaves and that type of stuff. Brush. There's a huge, if you ever been to the landfill, there's a huge brush pile there that grows quickly and gets chipped up and all that. I don't know how they're going to do it at the new place. And there's also a big pile of like construction debris and wood and stuff of that sort that they chip up. And of course, it's going to be a lot more expensive to send all that stuff across the state to Johnston.
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately or fortunately, we're about as far away from Johnston as you can be and still be within this little state. So anyway, but and we got to make sure we keep recycling up, because once we start going to Johnston, we have to pay a tipping fee for the trash, which we don't pay at the landfill. We dump there for free kind of, but at the central landfill, they charge you by the ton. And if your recycling is low, you get a much higher rate because they want you to recycle as much as possible. So we're going to have to really watch that number. Yes, sir.
What do you know about the recycling? I know a lot of cities, I think in Massachusetts and perhaps even Rhode Island, they were having difficulties getting rid of the recycled products, paper and bottles. No one wants them. And how is it? Have you heard anything about Johnston? Are they putting a premium on pickup of the recycling now in Tiverton, or just curious if you heard anything in the background? Maybe Richard.
You haven't heard anything new. As you know, we can dump recycling there for free as long as the load is clean. It doesn't have trash mixed in it, which is a problem. If there's trash mixed in,
I'm aware of that. Yeah,
they'll put it in completely as trash, and we have to pay the tipping fee. But if it's considered recyclables, it doesn't cost us. So, I
Yeah.
mean, it costs us to transport it there, but we don't have to pay a fee to drop it off. But as to who
Yeah.
actually takes that now, you're right, I don't know, because China stopped taking the real
Yeah.
cheap mixed paper and mixed plastics. That's where most of that went.
I even
And,
think Vietnam stopped taking it. I'm almost sure from the United States, but because they were just collecting it and putting in piles
right.
just to get the money.
The high quality stuff like scrap metal and I think the corrugated cardboard, there's still a market for that, but I'm not sure about the bulk paper and the, if they separate out aluminum, they separate out steel from the cans, that's usable too. But
Sure.
the plastics, I don't know if anybody really wants the plastics.
Yeah.
So it's a good question maybe to ask. I can check and see with town administrator and see if there's been any difference there, but I haven't heard of any. I think if we start having to pay for that, we'd hear moans and groans because we don't have the money really. we're tight on money, just period.
Yeah.
So having to pay for something. We used to actually get paid by the recycling group there. It's like $30,000-$40,000 a year for our recycling. And I think that's dropped quite a bit because the bottom fell out of the market. That
Yeah.
paper and the plastic was never a big contributor. Most of that's metals, scrap metal that we bring there and the cardboard, stuff like that. But if we have to start paying, that's a whole new show. And we'll see what happens. We'll have to monitor that. Richard may know more if there's been another meeting, if he reports back next time we have our meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any other questions? Trees. Connie.
Well,
or-
because
Is Tom there?
Because of COVID, we've been low profile. We didn't do anything this year in terms of plantings. And it's just that Peter and I are old, not Connie, of course, and we have to worry about it. So we didn't do any more plantings for now. So
Peter, you were old, not Connie.
so
You don't know how old I am, do you?
So what I was thinking, maybe we'll see next year again this spring, but depending on if everyone we can get our inoculations, I guess.
Yeah.
Then we
Well,
can do something.
last fall, Peter and I went and checked the trees out, and I got a pear, which I ate, and it was delicious.
Oh, wow.
I
You actually
got
got
a
fruit.
couple of,
Okay.
I got a couple of apples. I got a
Okay.
perfect Macintosh that I gave to the lady that was working at the desk in the library.
That's great.
So
We have
Yeah.
a little
There's no pest-
fruit orchard that
and
we
there's no
planted, I
pesticide.
shouldn't say but planted near the library on the side of, between the parking lot and the woods as you first drive in on the right. That's what
Mhm.
she's talking about. So we actually got some fruit. That's progress.
yeah, it was very good too. The other apples had like some funny holes in it, like a bug was trying to bore through it. But still, the Mac was perfect and the pear was perfect. And if there was any other, I guess the kids when they go skateboarding,
Yeah.
go and get some off of it. If there's any
Wow.
any on the trees, they help themselves.
Yeah.
Which is
great.
okay.
Okay. Well, that's great
Because
news.
it's
So
a
actually-
community orchard.
Right.
And it's organic, huh, Connie? It's organic orchard.
Yeah.
There's
Right. No
pesticide.
pesticide. Yeah.
No.
Right now it's sleeping. Right now all those trees are sleeping.
That's it.
So, if you get an apple with those little holes in it, you can get a dose of vegetable fruit and also protein, right? If you're
Lots
lucky.
of protein.
Yeah.
Yep. Organic
That's called
protein.
That's called a 2 for
Yeah.
1. That's usually a good deal,
Yep.
right? So, all right. Okay. So any questions? So you guys are going to look maybe to plant some other things in this coming year, maybe if we get back to normal?
Yeah, when we get back to normal, we want to do that. There's no doubt. It's just a
Do
terrible
we have any of the
situation.
seeds left over from the last country day at Pardon Gray, or that's all gone? The seed packets.
Say that again.
Are there any of the seed packets left over from the last Pardon
I have
Gray?
some seed packets in my freezer.
Right. So they should still be usable, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are the butterfly and insect friendly stuff. Right?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
monarch.
Monarchs, right, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Okay,
still
so
get
you still have
emails from
those
them.
too. Okay, great. All right, that brings us to the end of the agenda. I guess last chance for anyone to bring anything else up if something came to mind or any questions or anything of the sort. Otherwise, we're going to be done fairly quickly, which doesn't always happen, but we try.
Tom,
So,
this is not related to our agenda per se, but have
Sure.
you heard anything about whether or not Trish Hilton wishes to return to the committee?
I have not. I know she retired from the council, and she kind of started with us and then moved up into these other positions. So it's a she might probably just wants to decompress for a
Yeah.
bit, and then
Yeah.
possibly see where she could do the most. The other place that might really really like to use her could be planning, because they have actual permits that they issue. And one thing about Trish is she does her homework. She's really good. She's really thorough.
Yeah.
And that's a place where they could really use that kind of help.
Yeah.
And
True.
you only have one chance to develop your town right. And if you mess it up, you've got repercussions for decades. So you want to really do well there and make sure the decisions are well thought out with as much input as you can get.
And she knows her stuff.
Right. I mean, I'm sure she keeps an eye on this stuff, but yeah, I'll send her an email and see how she's doing. I'll let everybody know December. Maybe if she's decided where she wants to put her very, very vast talents still for the town. Hopefully she's still willing to be involved.
Yeah.
So, okay, anything else? Any other issues? Any first impressions, Sean? Are you still interested? Did we discourage you or anything? Or
no, I'm just doing a lot of listening. That's all,
Okay.
Just trying to take it all in. I don't want to throw out tons of comments. It's hard here at the Zoom thing too. It's easier in person, I'm sure, to say more.
We have a lot more fun when we're all together.
Yeah.
I'll bet. Yeah. I mean,
all the little
I would
comments.
probably too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Also make sure you feel welcome. And,
yeah. I like it.
When we first started, it's a lot of stuff, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I like hearing about all this stuff. Like I did have a question about that 50-foot buffer. Is that something that they've already approved with DM, or is that just something that's on the table right now?
No, that's already in effect, and the new rules, as I understand them, would expand
the 100 feet. Yeah.
Feet. And again,
that's interesting.
It doesn't mean you can't do anything there. It means if you are doing something there, you have to get it approved by them, presumably so that what you're doing doesn't inadvertently damage the wetland that's adjacent to that area.
Yeah, that could affect a lot of future properties, I would imagine, that are getting built, I would think.
Right, but we do see, for example, we'll see sometimes the reserve system, if you have a septic system, can be in there. If you have a limited lot and stuff like that. But they try to avoid any unnecessary disturbances in that area. But in some areas, like where I live in the north end of town, if there's a wetland buffer, it's probably grass all the way to the edge and all that. Whereas down south, where there's more space, you may have room to leave it.
My driveway was right on that 50-foot buffer. That's why it sounds interesting to me when you came out, because I remember when I did all my drawings, that was, right on the edge of the 50-foot buffer. So it was one of those things that if it was 100 feet, would have impacted me quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. But again, I think that because it's a buffer, that they really can't, I don't think they absolutely do it as a thou shalt not touch like a real wetland, but they just want to make sure that, things that are being done there wouldn't damage the adjacent stuff.
Right.
And there's a much bigger buffer around an actual water course or a pond like Stafford Pond. I think it's 200, 100 feet now. I think they're proposing 200. If it's a drinking reservoir, it's already 200. But so they just want to be very careful with these areas. Like you said, someone could do something not realizing it and cause.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And
there's so much building going on.
Yeah. Right. There was an article not too long ago that said we're going to get the brunt of it because A, we have the most open space left, and B, the land's the cheapest here in Newport County. Because Aquidneck Island, it's all expensive and not a lot left. There is a lot of land left in Little Compton, but it's expensive.
Yeah. I know the discussion about bringing the train line down to Fall River is going to open up a lot of increase in the people wanting to build down here in this area. So from the Boston area.
And our taxes aren't bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Stafford Pond can handle just so much.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
Well, the majority of the
another
town's
problem.
on well anyway.
Right.
Well, we
Well,
have
we have-
town water here.
Everything south of Boogamash is well.
Hmm.
I'm well.
Oh,
I've got a well.
Yeah, Bulgar Marsh
well.
is the boundary for the water districts.
Yeah.
But we do get, even in North Tiverton, some of our water comes from Stafford Pond, even though that belongs to the Stonebridge Water District. But
Yeah.
they sell water to North Tiverton. And Tiverton also, North Tiverton gets some from Fall River as well. So that's from
yeah.
Northwood.
When I walk my dog up that way, I usually check the Stafford Pond, see the height of the water.
Okay. Yep. So yeah, we
What's
got to
going,
pardon?
no, continue on, Tom, then I'll ask you a question.
No, go ahead. That's all right. That's all right. I'm talking too much.
I
I'll hear-
remember when we were quite a few years ago when Trish was talking about them putting a chemical down, was it alum or something like that?
Allium, yeah.
Allium. Did that ever happen, or was that just talk and DEM or whoever?
I thought they had a
Uh,
grant to do that. I'm not sure because I don't live in that area, so I wouldn't have seen it. But again,
Yeah.
that's a chemical that was going to tie up the phosphorus that was in the mud that was directly below the water.
Oh, that's what it was.
Because again,
Yeah, but the
don't-
unit that was in there, I don't think had been taken care of for years.
yeah.
It's
But they
supposed to
do
be
sometimes
maintained.
they do get algae on that pond, and it scares them because they have to shut down the intake if it's down in the southern end where the intake is. So they'd like to
The
just
deer
prevent
is
that.
here. You can tell.
That's a deer or a
The
turkey
deer.
or some coyote maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I've got the deer. Walter sees it. Yeah.
I had a new roof put on in October and finally got rid of the squirrels that were in the attic. So they've been evicted and they're gone. And I've got a new roof. So
Oh, they do
They
a
used
lot
to-
of
Oh, they
damage.
do a lot of damage.
they chewed through my gable vents to get in there. It's
Oh,
unbelievable.
yeah.
But I got reinforced it now with pressure treated wood. It's hard to find, but they seem not to be able to chew through that, or maybe they got sick chewing it or something and they gave up. But,
Yeah, I cut down a tree so it would stop access.
they climb up my metal drain pipes. Their little claws
The
can hold on to them.
gymnasts.
Yeah. And then they shimmy across horizontally. It's amazing.
Oh my God.
They have like a 10-foot thing where they go across horizontally and then climb up and in. They're amazing how they can do that. Relentless.
Trained. Yeah.
All during the time the roof was being done, they went and hid. And then when I boarded up their area, boy, were they making noise at me, screaming at me and stuff.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was- But I'm saying, hey, you guys left. You left voluntarily when they were doing the construction. You're not getting back in.
Yeah.
Anyway. Okay, do we have anything
Oh,
else?
I said, I was driving by, I guess, is it Westover, a Windover farm? And boy, the solar panels have been installed.
Yep.
Quite a few of them. Quite
Oh, really?
amazing how many. Yes, it's already, they made big progress. It was amazing to see it already. And this was just from quite a distance from the road.
If you
What
drive
happened
down
on,
114 in Portsmouth by the Navy housing there, they're building one right after Melville School. That's
yeah, I
10
saw
acre-
that.
That's a 10-acre one. So remember,
Oh,
some
wow.
of the ones
That's
we were
huge.
being proposed was 60. 60
Oh, is that
acres.
what's going on there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that a government installation? I'm just curious.
I think it is, yeah, because I think that area is still, even though they tore the houses down,
Well,
it's still
Yeah, it's
belongs-
still,
Yes.
you know,
There's a private
about
company that
the-
manages it, but yeah.
yeah.
But
How
we
about
also
that
we
Get
want
one-
to-
letters about solar. Is that something that we should get into? They want you to go solar in Tiverton?
Hey.
Well, you can actually buy your power from, I think there's some solar companies that sell it. And also, I think they have to take it. if
Well,
you dump
these
it
are
into the grid.
free. They advertise that these solar panels are free.
Oh,
Nothing's free.
They're not
Oh,
free,
they
Connie.
do.
No, Connie, it's not free.
except
believe it,
in
Connie.
Florida.
Connie,
I
they
have
put them
solar
on
on
your
my
roof.
The solar
Yeah.
panels are free. It costs $3 million to install them.
No,
Oh,
no, they
forget
actually, no, certain ones will allow, they lease it. You essentially pay a leasing fee. They put them on for nothing. They put the panels on and they give you a certain portion back, but at the same time, and the power plant will give you a little bit back too, but they also make money on it. You end up taking a loan out if you with them. They have quite a interesting rates, and you pay back perhaps the cost plus of what it really would cost if you paid it for cash. So nothing's
Well,
for
they
free.
offer you some money in order for you to do this.
Yeah,
I
they'll
keep
give you a
getting
discount.
flyers through the mail.
So
I
I know
put solar
that.
panels on my roof.
You have them on your
I-
roof?
And who-
I have them on my roof. Yeah, yeah.
Are you
I-
renting it, or did you buy it, or how did that work?
No, how it works is basically I bought the solar panels, but I financed the solar panels. Basically, is what it is. They come in, they put them on your roof. You know, you're just basically paying for all of that installation. You're not paying for some stuff, but you're buying the solar panels. So that I will actually own the solar panels. They're not connected to any part of the power on my house. They run out to the meter, and then National Grid pays me 39 cents a kilowatt hour. And on top
Do
of
you
that,
break even? Do you break
actually-
even on your cost?
so in the summertime, I make pretty good money in the summertime. In the wintertime, it's a lot less, but also my electric bill is practically nothing every month. I maybe pay $20 a month for my electric bill. So you have to factor that in as well to, you know, the benefit of doing it for yourself. But for me, it's working out pretty well. And not only that, after 12 years of of my payment for my panels, they're all paid off after 12 years. National Grid still guarantees me 15 years of payments.
Okay.
So after 12 years of paying for my once my panels are paid off, I'll get 3 full years where everything that National Grid is now paying me is just pure profit.
What's their
And even-
lifetime, expected lifetime?
They're pretty good.
Well, in 12 years, I'll be dead.
I hope not.
Wait a minute,
So,
we just had the discussion about not talking about ages here.
They say that solar panels lose about 1% of their efficiency per year. About.
Okay.
So you're still, I mean, you know, even after, you know, 30 years, you're still looking at 70% efficiency, which is still pretty good. So they keep getting better and better every year. The efficiency of the panels just keep getting better. So for me, it's worked out pretty well. I mean, I do pretty well. And I'll never pay an electric bill for the rest of the time I live here.
So you're
Yeah, I've
basically
had
just,
some companies call me and they refuse me because I'm really, it's a busy month if I'm paying $60.
Yeah, yeah.
My electric
Yeah,
is
exactly.
really low.
So for me, it worked out pretty well too, because I put them on a house that I was building. So they had to kind of guess on how many panels I could install on my roof, because actually National Grid will only let you put a certain number of panels on your roof because they don't want to pay you too much money.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. They don't want to give you too much, just a little bit, you know, just a little bit. So for me, we kind of bumped up the numbers a little bit. You know, I was going to put a lot of extra things in my house to make my electric bill go higher. But for most people, they take your last 6 months of your electric bill and they factor that in terms, and then they figure out how many solar panels can go on your roof.
Yeah, they told me no.
Yeah, I can see that actually. Yeah. Or you could probably like 3 panels.
Probably that.
one of the
company
things
did
we
you
wanted to do was try to encourage people, instead of these huge solar farms, which, you know, knock down forests in order to do it, was to try to put them on the roofs of existing buildings. You know, like that big gym that they built up near the industrial park area, that has a huge roof space that could be have these panels on it, and we wouldn't have to clear any land or cut down any trees. You know, try to do that, or put them on houses instead
But
of.
I basically lease the roof of my house to National Grid is basically what it is.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
You know,
think
and they pay me for
think
it. So
that's a better deal than taking all this land and just converting it into, you know, this ugly looking area that used to be trees and forests.
because all the schools have flat roofs.
All the schools, and that would help cut some of our bills maybe too,
Yeah.
right?
it
So
definitely
what-
would. Yeah.
Right, for his deal, my house is powered entirely by solar. So I'm attached to National Grid, but I store credits with National Grid. So in the summer, obviously, I'm getting a lot of credit, and in the winter, I draw down the credit. So my house is about 3,000 square feet, and it costs me about $600 a year to run my house, which is 100% electric. I have no gas.
Wow.
Wow.
Nice.
It's a really good deal. Moreover, so we built our house in 2015 and we got a 40% grant. So we only paid 60% of cost for our solar panels.
Yeah.
So we,
Right.
you know, the solar panels these days, so we have an app. We can look at our app on our phone, see how much power we're generating. A couple of times a panel has gone offline. We call the company. They're there immediately, figuring out what happened, putting it back online. I mean, I have only got 100% positive experiences of solar, but I do know there are some shady dealers out there, and so you've got
Very
to do your...
true.
So...
Right. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
You have to get a good solar company for sure.
Yeah.
The guy I used actually used to work for Tesla, so
Oh,
he was very, very good at explaining
I
the system and how it would work out for me.
Yeah, so we're going to buy a couple of Tesla batteries to store our own
Awesome.
power. But, you know, they're very expensive. The price has
They
come
are.
down a lot, but since the pandemic, they're just not making them. So we were actually in line to get 2 Tesla batteries in March, end of March, and then the pandemic hit, and we are now at the bottom of some decades-long waiting list till ever the pandemic we ever see life ever again.
Yep.
I think
It's
too,
funny
as
you say
electric
that
cars go up. Yeah.
I was looking into those Tesla batteries also. When I finally get kicked out of, you know, my lease, I might just start storing the power myself and using it.
Yeah.
It's a good deal.
Act. You know, the bigger one, there are a couple of other manufacturers of them, but they're way bigger and they're not as the Tesla's the way to go.
Yeah, the Tesla backup batteries look like huge iPhones. They're gorgeous. They look amazing. They look amazing. You'd want one just for what it looks. You could put it in your living room. You'd never know it was a battery because it's made by Tesla. It looks that good. Yeah.
So if there's a power outage, do you lose power if you have solar as well because you're not hooked up directly?
Well, you've got to have a way to that's the thing.
Store it.
You have to store your power, and if you don't have a battery, you don't store your power. All your power goes to the grid. So yes, you do lose power.
Yep.
It's too bad you couldn't flip a switch and power directly from it during an outage.
The grid won't let you. I have friends in Europe. They can.
I understand. Yeah.
National Grid won't let you here.
Yeah.
So can you put a transfer switch on the system to put a generator, or they don't allow that when you have a solar system?
So we looked at a generator and we looked at Tesla batteries, and they were more or less equal. But the generator is, you know, you're going to have it, and you're going to have it outside, and it's prone to the weather, and so we just decided going with the Tesla batteries was probably a better way to do it. But you certainly
No. I was just curious about did the New England N-Grid prohibit the fact that you would put a transfer switch and run a generator to allow you to power the house in a power outage? Is that not an issue? Because you mentioned that it just goes direct, the solar goes directly to the N-Grid. And if they have bad wires, it just essentially is shut off totally. You're not just using it yourself. You just can't draw the power yourself. But do they have prohibit you from using a generator or not? I'm just curious.
No, they don't prohibit you, Tom.
Okay. All right, Brenda. Just curious. Okay. Which company did you use? Which company? What company did you use for the solar installation?
So the company at the time was SOL, Sol or Sol, and it was Sol Tiverton. So since that time, they have a different name, and I can get, if you want more info, I'll get you the name, but I would highly recommend them. They've been very responsive, just really nice people as well, and easy to work with, lovely demeanor. So we have had just a hands down great experience with them.
Okay.
But the company's name was SOL?
Salt.
I think I know why they changed their name.
They changed Name, there's a surprise.
Yeah,
It's amazing the PR department didn't catch that one, but yeah.
it went right over their heads.
I guess the bad news is though, you can't get rid of all those pesky little fees on your electric bill, right? Because even
Oh,
if you're not
good
buying
Lord.
power,
No,
you've got all these little things
transmission,
you got to do. So yeah, so it
yeah.
never drops completely to zero.
Yeah.
Okay, are we set?
Sean,
No.
yeah,
Oh,
one
sorry.
quick one, Sean, who did you use?
I use a company called Isaacson Solar, ISAKSEN, Isaacson Solar. And he used to work for Tesla, and he's really, really good, very good. He'll come out, he'll go through all the numbers with you, break it down into every individual aspect of it, and then you can make your own decision at that point.
Yeah.
But he's really
Mhm.
good at that. Yeah, Isaacson Solar, he's really good.
Sounds
Well, at
good.
least you
Thank you
can't
for
make
both
fun of
of
his
them.
name.
What's that?
At least you can't make fun of his name.
I know, yeah. His name is Ryan. His first name is Ryan. So, yeah, exactly right. Yeah, there's
Yep,
no
no
acronyms
company
I
should
can-
be called SOL.
Yeah, that's a tough one right there.
Well, there
Oh.
are worse, I suppose, but yeah.
Yeah.
So. Okay. Anything else we need to cover? Or are we set? Had enough for tonight? Okay.
Well, it's nice to talk again.
Hey, it's
Yeah,
a
nice to
pleasure
see
for
everybody.
talking with everybody.
Yeah,
Nice
it
to
was
meet you,
true.
Sean.
You all
Thank
stay
you.
safe.
Welcome aboard.
Nice to meet all of you too.
All right. Motion to adjourn.
Adjourn.
Is there a
Have a great
second?
evening, everybody.
All
Thank
right,
you.
all in favor, say aye. We're set officially.